So this was Tobey Maguire in the 2002 movie, The Amazing Spider-Man. And at the time when this movie was released, this physique, right, having a bit of ab definition, chest definition, some shoulders and biceps, this was considered an elite, top-level Hollywood superhero type of physique. Whereas compared to today in 2026, as the time of recording this, if you were to post this physique on Instagram Reels or TikTok, it probably wouldn't even get 1,000 views. And people would probably comment stuff saying that his physique looks like shit or that his physique doesn't look good and he has a below average LTN type of physique. And the reason for that is simply because of the very, very real phenomenon of physique inflation, right? Because nowadays, with more people than ever going to the gym because of fitness social media and the evolving gym culture, physique inflation has increased massively, right? We're literally seeing extremely impressive physiques from genetically blessed individuals every day, and that has basically desensitized the general population to what a good physique would look like, right? Literally 20 years ago, in like 2002, if you just go to the gym and build a bit of muscle like this would have ascended you massively, right? I'm not saying it would have ascended you completely, but it would drastically improve your looks and status because basically no one else was going to the gym. And yeah, that would have been something that ascended you massively. Whereas compared to today, we're literally in a high school class, basically every male and half of the females are actively going to the gym. Building a physique has become way less impressive because everyone's doing it, and it just becomes way harder to ascend through gym selling, right? Again, whereas 20 years ago, you can literally go to the gym, build a bit of muscle, and that would have ascended you like crazy and increase your looks percentile like crazy. So that's kind of the key idea of this video is physique inflation, and specifically what you can do to basically counteract physique inflation both within the gym, right, within the building your physique and within the gym, but also some stuff you can do outside of the gym and what I believe is going to be the next gym, if that kind of makes sense to you. So yeah, that's what this video is going to be about, and it is going to be another Roblox video today, and I think I'm going to do... I think for this video, I might just do work at a pizza place, right? That's a classic Roblox game. But yeah, okay, let's get started. So the first reaction that you might have to this idea of physique inflation and the first solution that you might come up with would maybe be to take steroids, right? Because if everyone's going to the gym and... give me 1 second. If everyone's going to the gym and building their physiques, then the easiest way that you can stand out and stand apart from other people would be to hop on steroids, right? And I can kind of see where you're coming from that perspective, but I don't think that is the right solution, because when you're taking steroids, that does not mean you're gonna have a better physique in terms of the female gaze perspective, right? Sure, if you just blast steroids and put on a bunch of muscle, you could have a better physique from the male gaze perspective, but from the female gaze, it is a bit different. So the way I want you to think about it is to basically just think about it as your structure, which is a combination of your bone structure, muscle insertions, and all of that, and your potential based on your structure. So for your current individual structure, right, so your bone structure, insertions, all of that, you have a ideal female gaze physique, right? An ideal amount of muscle and an ideal proportion of muscle that is going to be optimized for the female gaze. Anything more than that is going to start giving you a negative, it's going to start becoming a net negative in terms of your looks. And to be honest with you, you can achieve for the most part, your ideal female gaze physique as a natural, because to appeal to the female gaze, you don't actually need that much muscle. So again, right, for your current structure, which is your bone structure and muscle insertions, there is an ideal female gaze physique where there's an ideal amount of muscle and an ideal distribution of muscle that is going to be optimized for the female gaze. And for that amount of muscle, you don't actually need to hop on steroids, and you can achieve that naturally. So when you hop on steroids, you're not really going to be benefiting that much from your looks, right? Because you're already tapping out your genetic potential, and you don't really gain anything past that point. It's actually a net negative. So that's why I think steroids are not necessary. And in most cases, it is a net negative for your looks and also for your health, and also probably for your money as well. So then if you can't, use steroids to build more muscle because it's not going to help that much, instead what you can do is focusing on the proportions of your physique. And that's kind of what bodybuilding was originally about, right? Because bodybuilding, there used to be a huge component about proportions and building your physique in a very deliberate manner based on your proportions. And that's kind of been lost nowadays, right? It's like the lost art of bodybuilding. In fact, in the early days, I think it was Eugene Sandow, like one of the first bodybuilders ever. He would literally go to, I think it was like Italy, and measure the measurements of those like Greek statues, like Renaissance statues, and then try and build his physique based on those measurements. Whereas that idea of, deliberately building your physique in a proportional way, that's basically completely lost nowadays. But I think I'm gonna go back in. Right, but that idea is basically lost nowadays, and there are even some people who claim that you can't bring up weak points and that you can't develop your physique in a deliberately proportional manner, and it's all genetics, right? Maybe you've seen, I think it was Dorian Sarachi who made that video where he talked about how bringing up your weak points is cope, because there's only so much volume that you can recover from each muscle. And that is true, right? That is true, because let's say right now my biceps are my weak point. I can't just go and do 20 to 30 sets of biceps a week because my biceps may only be able to recover from 10 sets. So when it comes to bringing up weak points, you can't really make your weak points grow faster compared to the rest of the physique. Instead, the way you actually bring up weak points is actually just by slowing down or reducing the muscles that are not your weak point. So example of this might be, right now my arms are, my triceps are quite overdeveloped compared to my biceps. I can't just do 30 sets of biceps a week to bring up my biceps because my biceps can only recover from 30 sets a week. So I can't just magically make my biceps grow faster and bring up my weak point, right? That's kind of Dorian Sarachi's argument. But what I can do is just stop training my triceps, or like drastically reduce the volume of my triceps so that it grows way slower so that my biceps can catch up proportionally. And that is basically what I'm doing right now, right? Right now I'm doing 2 sets of tricep extensions a week. In fact, I'm actually reducing it further to like 1 set a week, and I'm doing 6 to 7 sets of bicep curls a week in my program. And I'm doing a full body, upper full body program, if you're wondering, and I'm going to be uploading it into the BP Fitness Swap page as well for those interested. It's linked in the description, by the way, if you're ever interested in that. But yeah, so, and that's also what if I remember correctly, Jay Cutler did in his first year or so of bodybuilding, right? When he first got into bodybuilding, Jay Cutler's legs were like so overdeveloped that he basically stopped training legs for the first year or two so that his upper body can catch up, right? You can't just magically throw in more volume for your weak points and make them grow faster, but what you can do is drastically reduce the volume for the other muscles so that your weak point can catch up proportionally. So that is how you can quote unquote bring up weak points. And yeah, another example of this is, let's say your mid and lower chest are really overdeveloped, whereas your upper chest, the clavicular head, is very behind. You can't just do 30 sets of upper pec a week and expect it to grow faster because you can't recover from that. But what you can do is basically just stop training your sternal and lower chest and only do clavicular chest so that it catches up proportionally, right? So bringing up weak points is not about adding more volume to your weak point. It's about reducing volume or even pausing and stop training your strong points. So I just want to get that out of the way. And yeah, with that said, right, you have to follow this lost art of bodybuilding where you're building your physique proportionally so that you can stand out. Because nowadays, everyone is just, no one's building their physique proportionally anymore. They're just trying to train for maximum muscle growth. And that's also why someone with a lot of muscle can still look like absolute shit. And that's kind of what I talk about a lot on my channel, right? For example, I always talk about how you don't want to overdevelop your quads, because having quads that are too big will basically sweep outwards, right? Having quads that are too big will basically sweep outwards like this. I'm going to show it on my Roblox avatar like this. And having quads that sweep outwards like that is going to make your hips look wider, and in turn, it's going to make your clavicles look more narrow. And yeah, that's also why you see a lot of people with very big quads, they look like shit even though they have more muscle. Another example is the bicep example, like I talked about, right? People like to talk about how triceps make up 2/3 of your arms, and that training your triceps will give you bigger arms, so you should focus on triceps. But when you have big triceps, it's just not a very aesthetic muscle, right? Having bicep dominant arms is always going to be way more aesthetic than tricep dominant arm, especially if you have a short humerus. So yeah, in the BP fitness system, I talk a lot about building your physique based on your bone structure. In fact, I have a whole like PDF checklist where I like basically go over how to assess your bone structure from like your neck and clavicles to your humerus and rib cage and hip and waist. But you want to build your physique not only proportionally, like muscle wise, but also proportionally to your bone structure and the bone structure that you have. And another example, right, of how you can develop your physique proportionally and really stand out, and this is what I believe is honestly one of the biggest opportunities you can have in terms of having a physique that stands out, is just developing really elite level abs. Because like I've talked about training abs a lot on my channel, and I'm going to keep talking about it because it's one of the most overlooked parts of the physique that you can develop. When you actually develop your abs, get really strong at weighted crunches and leg raises or whatever ab exercise you want to do, just make sure it's weighted and you progress on it, then it's going to cause the ab muscles to get bigger. And when your ab muscles are bigger, they will be more visible at higher body fat percentages. So instead of only seeing abs at like 10%, you can actually see abs at like 12 to 13%. But when you do get lean, then they're just going to make them pop out even more. And it's one of the biggest halos that you can have. And the thing with ab training is there are still a lot of people who don't even isolate their abs, right? There's still a lot of people who believe that abs are all about losing body fat and that you can't hypertrophy the abs to make them more visible, which is completely untrue. So that's why I think it's one of the biggest opportunities you can have in terms of having a physique that really stands out. It's just going in and really developing elite level abs, right? Training them 2 to 3 times a week, doing like more volume, and just getting as strong as possible in your ab exercises. And I think I have another example. So if you're interested in that, you can, again, link in the description. I have it all in the BP fitness system, where I literally have a PDF, right? You can watch the WAP page trailer video if you want to see what I'm talking about. But yeah, you can like develop your neck and your traps based on the length of your clavicles and the length of your neck and all those things to really build the best physique for your bone structure. And if you do that, right, if you follow the system and do that correctly, then you really are going to be able to reach what I previously mentioned, right, your ideal female gaze physique for your bone structure, and do so naturally within a few years from now. And after that point, that really is going to be your maximum appeal physique, and hopping on steroids and building more muscle afterwards is really not going to be helping all that much. So now we covered, what you can do physique-wise in terms of differentiating your physique from everyone else. Now I actually want to talk about a few things you can do outside of the gym. And the first one, pretty obvious one, is to basically pretend like you are not that into the gym, right? So when people ask you about your workout routine, instead of talking about your specific super optimal training split, literally just tell them that you only do push-ups and sit-ups, right? Tell them that you only do push-ups at home, or that you don't have a workout routine, or you just work out at the park, just whatever it is, just make something up that is still somewhat believable, right? Still somewhat believable, but implies that you don't really care about the gym and you don't actually know how to train. And when people ask to work out with you, you can make them do some bullshit exercises like the Phil Heath plate press. I think that's what it's called. Like do some plate press. And again, just pretending like you're not that into the gym. Because when you do that, that's kind of like a multiplier on your physique, right? Because we covered what you can do with the physique, but now we're just covering a lot of the multipliers you can do to enhance your physique, whether directly or indirectly, like in this example. Right, so just act like you don't care about the gym, act like you don't know anything about the gym, and that will indirectly make your physique look a lot more impressive, because instead of having a good physique as a gym bro who put in a lot of effort, you have a good physique as a random guy who doesn't even care about the gym, that doesn't even work out. And that just basically creates the illusion of better genetics. And at the end of the day, having good genetics will always be more impressive than hard work, because if you really think about it, having more genetics is a lot more rare, right? Hard work, anyone can work hard, right? That's something anyone can do. But having good genetics and physical development, which comes from childhood nutrition, right? Having enough animal foods as a kid, that's what true superiority actually looks like. And now, with that out of the way, I want to talk about what I believe is going to be the next gym, if that makes sense, right? Because the reason why the gym in like 2002, having a good physique in 2002 was so impressive, was because basically no one else was actively training in the gym, right? Just a very small percentage of the population was actually doing like lifting weights and trying to get aesthetic actively, whereas today everyone is doing it. So yeah, so that's why I kind of want to talk about this concept of what I think is the next gym, because when you're just trying to improve your physique and just trying to keep improving your physique and better than everyone else right now, you're still only trying to improve incrementally at something everyone else is doing, right? Because everyone else is doing the gym already and you're just trying to incrementally improve at it. Whereas what you can do is you can actually just go do something completely new, right? So just imagine the same concept, right? In 2002, basically no one else was going into the gym, right? Imagine in 2002, in a high school classroom, there might only be like 2 to 3 people who are actually training and lifting weights in the gym. And those people are usually gonna be athletes who are lifting weights for their specific sport, right? For like football or something, where they're actively lifting weights for that. Think about what's something similar that can be reflected in 2026, right? Think about in 2026, you go into your high school classroom, what is something that only 2 to 3 people are doing or even know about in your classroom that has the potential to drastically increase your SMV, right? Because that's basically what the gym was, right? In 2002, the gym was that niche thing that only 2 to 3 people are doing in your classroom that has the potential to drastically increase your SMV. What is the same thing today that no one else is doing, right? So instead of incrementally improving at the gym, which is the same thing, what is a completely different thing that no one else is doing? I'll give you some time to think about it, and you can comment what your guess is in the comment section before I reveal it. So what the new gym is in my opinion, going to be what I call status maxing, right? So basically posting content on social media specifically to funnel it into your personal Instagram page and gaining status off of that. And the good thing about it is that you can grow on social media even if you're kind of ugly, right? So even if you have bad genetics, which is something you can't really say with the gym, because with the gym, if you have a really fucked up bone structure and you're really short, and if you have just terrible genetics, then you basically can't develop a very good physique because you're restrained by genetic factors like your frame and insertions and height and all of those things. But when it comes to growing on social media, right, so building a social media channel and funneling it into your personal Instagram, that's something you can do even if you are an LTN, right, if that's you. And the way you want to do this is basically pick a niche that is gender neutral, right? Pick an NT and gender neutral niche, and what the hell is this? Yeah, but like I was saying, right? So you basically want to pick an NT and gender neutral niche that is not related to looks maxing and that is not related to the gym, and post content off of that. And then what you do is you basically grow that content funnel, right? Again, it should be gender neutral. So something like, I don't know, fucking skincare, study skills, the primal diet even. And you do that, and you can just funnel those followers into your personal Instagram account. So with the gym, you're directly improving your looks, whereas with this status maxing funnel, you're improving your status. Because again, with looks maxing becoming more popular, more and more people are like doing looks maxing, actively hitting the gym, actively like doing peptides and stuff like that, and increasing their looks. But status maxing is something that is still relatively not tapped into. And what I predict is that soon it's going to be more common for people to have 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, and it's going to be the same thing as the original physique halo, right? So I'll just go back to this image, right? In 2002, having this physique would have been very impressive, just like how nowadays, right, in 2026, if you have like 10 to 20,000 followers on your Instagram page, that would have been really impressive. But what I predict is that in like 10 years, right, 5 to 10 years, as more and more people get into making content, having 10 to 20,000 followers is going to be not that impressive because it's going to be so popular that everyone is going to be doing it. In fact, I think it's actually a one-to-one mirror, right? In 2002, there might only be like 3 people in your class who are actively hitting the gym and doing so for their sport. Whereas from what I can remember, right, in my high school classroom, there was like maybe one person or two, like one person I know who was actually actively posting on social media trying to sell his shitty powerlifting coaching on social media. So in terms of the number of people doing it, from my perspective, it's basically a one-to-one mirror. And just like how the gym has the potential to drastically increase your S&P through improving your looks, doing the status maxing funnel has the potential to drastically increase your S&P through status maxing. And for those who are in my BP Fitness WOP page, you might have known if you watched the first video of the BP Fitness system that I actually used to have a study skills YouTube channel. Right before I got into BP Fitness, I had a study skills YouTube channel, and that was basically my first experience of what this status maxing funnel could look like. Because again, the channel, it's a gender neutral niche, and I basically had the channel and I funneled it into my personal Instagram, and I've had like this, I basically experienced what it was like with this fucking Chilean girl messaging me. And if you're in the WOP page, right, if you're in the BP Fitness WOP page, you would know what I'm talking about, and you can see all of the screenshots of what happened, which I don't know if I should talk about on YouTube. But yeah, when you have this like status maxing funnel, that is what I believe is going to be the new gym, and that's what you can do right now. So again, recap. Pick a niche that is gender neutral and it's not related to looks maxing or the gym. It can even be something like the primal diet, right? If you build a primal diet channel or primal diet Instagram page with like 10,000 followers, then you're gonna have followers who are into the primal niche as well, and you can probably find some like primal girl to have kids with and eat raw meat with in your city as well. So yeah, when you have this content status maxing funnel, even if it doesn't improve how attractive you are directly, which it will basically give you more eyeballs and give you more traffic. So let's say right now only 1% of girls find you attractive. If you just have a content funnel, right, this like Instagram page with 500 girls who follow you, then statistically 5 are going to find you attractive. So even though you don't improve your conversion rate, which again, getting more status will inherently improve how attractive you are, but even if it doesn't, you just get more eyeballs on you and you just brute force your way out of it anyways. But yeah, that's just how powerful I think this content status maxing funnel is. And I'll be honest with you, I also have a separate channel where it's like I show my face and I talk about NT topics on my NT niche. I'm not gonna say which one it is because you might end up finding my NT channel and I don't want my identity to be leaked. But I'll be honest, I haven't been too consistent with it because it can get a bit boring, and honestly most of the time I just want to record videos on this channel for BP Fitness. But yeah, that's something that you can definitely consider doing. And again, right, if you want to check out the BP Fitness system, it's linked in the description. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.